and welcome to Get Creative at Home from Suffolk Public Library. This will be our project for January of 2024. How are we feeling? We made it into the new year. We are going to be making a faux stained glass project. We're going to be painting on glass while painting on acrylic. So what I have today, I'm painting on a leftover piece of glass that I had from a different project, but just for safety, we're going to be shipping out pieces of acrylic to you guys, just so that nothing breaks in transit and everything is all safe, all good to go. So I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about what I'm using in case you ever want to replicate this project on an actual piece of glass. It's very easy to pick up a photo frame from the thrift store. In fact, that's what I'm working off of, is an extra piece of glass from the picture frame, and pick up some glass paints, or still use the materials that we're using today. It's a very easy one, like the way that it looks, to keep replicating it. So I've got the first thing that you're going to need is a surface to work on. In my case, I'm going to be using glass that I've just sourced from a picture frame. This picture frame is just from the Dollar Tree. It's a little banged up. It wouldn't have survived a journey in a kit. That's why we're going to be giving you guys acrylic pieces. They're going to be a little hardier. So you'll be getting acrylic, which will also just be a little bit easier to work with. You won't be quite as concerned about safety with as you will with glass. But you can also, if you like this, you can replicate this with any glassware. You can do it with actual drinking glasses. Typically, even glass paints that they make for glass, they typically aren't food safe, and as recommended, they say don't paint the top like 3/4 to top inch around the mouthpiece, around the lid, or the rim, just in case, you don't want to accidentally be creating this wonderful piece of painted glassware, like a mug or a wine glass that you can't drink from. So that's my recommendation. If you do like it, it's a very fun, soothing project. I highly recommend to keep doing it. Make sure that you're doing it safely. But what we're going to be doing today, and what you'll be getting in your kit, is several colors of acrylic paint that you'll be mixing with Mod Podge. And you can also do this with clear school glue, but we'll be just mixing our paint with our glue to really thin out the paint and make it really, really stick to our acrylic sheets and make them really want to work together. So and as you can see on my sort of tester here that I've got in progress, because we thin it out and because it's going to be translucent and transparent, it's going to really show any of your brush strokes really strongly. This red section, I've tried a different technique, and I'll show you what that one is. But because of that, it's really easier if you do use a sponge brush and you can just dab at it. You get an interesting technique and an interesting texture without having to worry about getting these streaks. You can just doop, 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 and just dab in the sponge. You get some texture, and you don't have to worry about getting all of these streaks. If you like them, then you're more than welcome to grab your own brush. It does not matter what kind, and then do that yourself. But we'll be doing this today. So, yeah. Otherwise, aside from the things that we'll be providing, you will probably want to have on hand some water to rinse your brushes. You'll want some paper towels. It doesn't get terribly messy, but as you can see, I've made a little bit of a mess in my first half of making this. So you might want some paper towels, some wipes around, anything like that. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. We'll talk about how to get everything prepped. Get started. Alright, so when you first get your things prepped, one of the first things you're going to want to do is wash your piece of acrylic. We are getting in brand new, so doing a heavy scrub isn't terribly important. You will want to wipe it clean just of any oils just from handling them or anything like that. In my case, since this has been hanging around the office for a little bit, I really needed to do a good scrub on this and then wipe it down. So this is just giving your paint a good surface to stick to, and it's going to ensure that you have a better opportunity for your paint to last a little bit longer. Now that you've got a nice good surface, the next thing is going to be the really fun part. I'm looking for a reference image. So here, since we're trying to do this nice and quick, like in an art, we're going to go with a piece by Mondrian. So we're going to just print it out. We'll be able to just line them. One of the nice things about glass and acrylic is they are clear. You can just line them up. If you want to be able to manipulate them, you can actually tape the piece to your printed out reference image. But if not, leaving it straight on your paper just like this works just fine. You'll be able to move it around, make sure that you have the opacity that you want. So something about the paints, once you dilute your acrylic paints, or if you're working with the glass paints themselves, they are quite transparent. This yellow here is only one coat. I've had to do several coats of my darker colors to get them to show up. So you really do want to work with several coats of all of your colors. This is something that they do dry quickly. You don't have to be terribly patient. You do want to have a little bit of patience with them. So, giving them the space to you'll be able to just set your piece down here. Now, this has blocked out lines. In several of your images, you can look to a couple of different places for reference images. Coloring books are actually adult coloring books are actually a pretty good place for reference images, since they already have everything just lined out, and then you get to choose the colors that go inside. But if you're looking for that classic stained glass look, having these strong black separator lines, they're called lead lines, is one of the really iconic features. There's a couple of ways that we can get that, and we can accomplish that when we're doing a faux stained glass piece like this. So the way that we are going to be doing it today is we are going to be painting them on, and in my case we're going to be painting them on last. In our case we're going to be painting them on last, after we finished everything else. And there's a couple of other ways you can do it. They do sell, sort of in a bottle, much like puffy paint, your own individual lead lines, and that way you can do those first. Outline everything with your puffy paint. Just squeeze it onto your outlines, and then let that dry. Those typically need to dry at least 4 to 6 hours, if not overnight. And if you're interested in that option, you can feel free to go and pursue looking at those. You can also fill in your lines if you want a really crisp look. Either an oil-based Sharpie marker or a paint pen will work really well if you want a really sharp line. It's painting your lines, unless you're really, really practiced, you'll get a little bit of wobbliness. It won't be the crispest lines you've ever seen, but that's okay. We are just showing that we have made this by hand. So, there's a couple of different options. What we are going to do is going to be the painting them on after, because that's the best way that we can give for providing you guys all the paint. But feel free to take a look at the other options. If you happen to have a paint marker around your home, you can give that a shot, see if you like that look. But you'll see me working with just the paint and painting my own lines, and you'll get to see all of the wobbliness therein. So I'm going to show both the painted and the dabbed, and I'll also show how I did the dabbed technique with the regular paintbrush as I finish up some extra layers. A reminder that you will probably need to do at least 2 to 3 layers of each of your colors, minimum, unless you want a really, really transparent, really pastel look, because they are really quite thin. So I'm going to build up some more layers and of my colors, and then start working on my red lines, and you'll get to watch all that process happen. See the way that I'm doing the texture here that I did on my big red section is by loading up the brush with a little bit more than I would, and you can do this with a regular brush or with the sponge brush, it doesn't matter, and placing little lines a small distance apart. Basically filling, for me it's well suited to this large area. You wouldn't need it for small sections, but for such large flat areas like I have, I like the impact of it. So I'm filling up these large sections. You can see it's a little uneven, but then I'm just going to stipple with my brush and even out where the paint has been distributed. And I'll do that process a couple of times. Just to get the texture that I'm looking for, rather than, the streaks of a brush stroke. So it's really up to you on what look that you're looking for, and what suits the image that you're doing. But I think this is another way to get texture. The same stippling technique is what we used for the sponge brush. It's what the sponge brush is really meant for. You can see how it looks with the white here. We use the sponge brush for our white sections. So it's just got a little bit more natural, and we're basically just imitating that sponge brush look with our small said, it'll need a few coats, but once you add up those layers, you do your faux red lines, they don't look too bad, even with us just painting it on. I've got mine just here in the frame, but they look really, really good when you put them in front of a window or a light source, like a tea light candle or something like that. I hope you guys enjoyed this project this month, and we will see you next time. As always, if you requested a supply kit, don't forget to pick that up from either North Suffolk or North Memorial Library. We'll see you guys next month. Alright, bye.